Imagine sitting late at night, flipping through the radio channels by chance, when suddenly you come across a station broadcasting a buzzing sound, intermittent and strange. In the middle of it, you hear names, letters, and incomprehensible words spoken in a deep, calm voice. Then the words stop, and the buzzing sound returns. At first, you might think there's something wrong with the station or that it's broken. But what if the one broadcasting on this station isn't human? For years, the UVB 76 radio station, also known as MDZHB, or as many people call it, the ghost station, has puzzled the world. The story began purely by coincidence. One day, people started noticing a strange channel broadcasting a bizarre buzzing sound. It was annoying and mysterious. They stumbled upon it randomly while flipping between channels. When they tuned to frequency 4625 kilohertz, they heard the sound, approximately 21 to 34 pulses per minute. Occasionally, the buzzing would be interrupted by loud whistles, similar to the sound of ship sirens, adding an eerie layer to the mystery. That buzzing sound was discovered in 1982, though some claim it existed much earlier, dating back to 1974. In its early days, the sound wasn't the same buzzing tone we know today. It was a chaotic, jumbled noise resembling irritating sirens layered over one another until it eventually transitioned into the familiar buzzing sound. People were initially baffled, wondering who in their right mind would waste money building a transmission tower just to broadcast such a ridiculous noise. It seemed like nonsense. But then, everything changed. On Christmas Day in 1997, the station suddenly went silent. The buzzing completely stopped. Then, out of the eerie silence, a man with a deep, calm voice spoke. All he said was a brief phrase, UVB 76. Shortly after, he uttered a series of numbers and names, 18008 BMAL 7447299. It felt like a code, an encrypted message, or someone trying to communicate in a hidden way. The names he mentioned were just as strange. Bruce, Mikhail, Olga, Roman, Anna, Larissa. Then more numbers and cryptic phrases followed, like Ari, Romol, Moko, Murka. From that moment, people were convinced that there was something more to this mysterious station. It wasn't just a random broadcast, there was a massive enigma behind it that demanded to be unraveled. Since the station identified itself as UVB 76, people started calling it by that name, keeping their ears glued to its frequency, hoping to uncover its secrets and decode whatever messages it might hold. Despite their efforts, the station offered little clarity. For years, all they heard was the same monotonous buzzing, with occasional cryptic interruptions. But on November 3rd, 2001, something extraordinary happened. Instead of the usual buzzes and whistles, a strange conversation was heard in the background. It went something like this. From a voice labeled 134, "I haven't received the generator." The other voice replied, "The generator will come from the equipment room." At first glance, the exchange seemed trivial, even nonsensical, but it revealed something astonishing. The station wasn't abandoned or automated. There were real people involved. Even more intriguing, the way they communicated suggested they were part of a military operation. This discovery led to another shocking realization. The buzzing and whistles weren't pre-recorded loops. They were monitored in real time, as confirmed by further intercepted transmissions. The station wasn't just broadcasting meaningless sounds. It was part of something far more deliberate and ominous. After all this, more sounds began to emerge from the station, footsteps echoing inside a room or the faint thud of objects being moved. Then, one day, the broadcast abruptly stopped. This happened on June 5th at exactly 10 p.m. when the buzzing went completely silent. The next day, listeners were shocked to discover that the broadcast had resumed, but with one critical difference. The transmission location had changed. Originally, the signal came from a dense forest near the village of Povarovo in Russia, north of Moscow. But after the interruption, the broadcast appeared to originate from two new locations, St. Petersburg and Moscow. When the broadcast resumed, it was stranger than ever. There were distinct knocking sounds, a message sent via Morse code, and occasional background noises, proof that someone was physically present in the room. Eventually, the usual buzzing returned, continuing until mid-August when the transmission stopped again. But this time, it wasn't just a brief silence. The station went dark for 10 entire days, only resuming on August 25th at exactly 10:01 a.m. When the broadcast came back, listeners heard the usual buzzing interspersed with calls to specific names for a few seconds before they abruptly stopped. Then, in the first week of September, something truly bizarre occurred. The station played Dance of the Little Swans from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. As if that weren't strange enough, on September 10th, the broadcast featured someone dictating instructions and information to a secretary. In 2010, the station aired its longest ever series of names, with many repeated multiple times. Listeners decided to nickname the station MDZHB, derived from the initials of the most frequently mentioned names. Now you might ask yourself, why didn't someone just go to the broadcasting site if its location was known? Why didn't they investigate? Well, they did. In 2011, a group of curious individuals decided to visit the station's old broadcast site in Povarovo. What they found there only deepened the mystery. The location was surrounded by a giant barbed wire fence spanning 30 to 40 meters in length. A sign on the fence read, "Military vehicles only." However, the gates were wide open and the area seemed completely abandoned. The group explored the site, and though it was eerily empty, they had asked locals about the area beforehand. They were told that the location was a military base and that entry was strictly prohibited. Yet when they ventured inside, there were no soldiers, no personnel, just a desolate, abandoned compound shrouded in silence and mystery. When the group finally entered the site, they found a scene that raised even more questions. All the equipment and items left behind were burned or destroyed, and there was no sign of anyone. From what they observed, it looked like whoever had been there had evacuated in a hurry, trying to erase any trace of their presence. The site featured a large communication tower with a fully equipped transmission room underneath it. Beyond that, there wasn't much, just the frequency the station broadcasted on, and a log with all the names and numbers that had been mentioned. However, things got even stranger. The group discovered that there was a hidden underground section of the facility. There was clearly an entrance, but the staircase leading down had been removed, making it impossible to access. The only living thing they found on the entire site was a poor dog tied to a tree. They freed the dog before leaving. The station and its broadcast might have remained a complete mystery to the general public if not for a tech entrepreneur named Andres Slade. This man had an intense fascination with UVB-76 and its bizarre broadcasts. He began archiving all the station's transmissions and uploading them online to make it easier for others to follow. His efforts brought the station to a wider audience, and many people started tuning in to uncover its secrets. The big question, why does this station exist? The most important question remains, why is this station broadcasting? What is its purpose? Several theories attempt to explain its existence, but the strongest and most logical one is that the station was set up by Russia as a way to communicate with its spies stationed in different locations. You might wonder, but anyone can listen to it. Why would spies rely on an open broadcast? The answer lies in the openness of the station. By allowing anyone to listen in, the broadcast avoids drawing suspicion. If it were encrypted or restricted, it would be clear that the messages were meant for specific people, likely spies. By contrast, broadcasting openly creates ambiguity about who the messages are intended for. The numbers, names, and cryptic tones are likely a code system that only trained agents can understand. The fact that the broadcasts come from military facilities reinforces this theory. Furthermore, the voices often use military jargon, and the station's relocation in 2010 coincided with a major reorganization of the Russian military, lending even more credibility to this explanation. In summary, while the full truth about UVB-76 remains a mystery, the evidence strongly suggests that it serves as a tool for military communication, specifically a covert way for Russian intelligence to relay messages to its operatives across the world. There's another theory that suggests UVB-76 could be a dead hand signal, a system developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War as a nuclear deterrent. The theory argues that the station's broadcast is designed to automatically transmit a message if the Soviet Union, now Russia, is hit by a nuclear attack. The idea was that if the station's broadcast suddenly ceased for a specific period of time, it would be a signal that the country had been attacked and the government would respond in kind with a nuclear retaliation. You might wonder, but the station stopped twice, once for a full day and another time for 10 days. How does that fit into the theory? The answer might be that the Soviets had built in a failsafe, perhaps a coded signal or a special marker, that would be sent out to stop the broadcast intentionally, making it appear as if the station had ceased accidentally, when in fact it was a calculated move to communicate with the government. This would maintain the system's secrecy and integrity. Another theory is related to military research. Some experts believe that the station was set up to explore the potential uses of ULINOS, a special layer in radio waves. The purpose of these waves might have been to improve radar technology to enhance detection and precision. This would explain the unusual and seemingly random nature of the broadcast signals. As for the fifth theory, some people believe that the broadcast could just be a reference signal used to measure the quality of radio stations across Russia. According to this view, UVB-76 is simply a test signal that ensures other Russian stations remain up to standard. This would explain why it's always active, never ceasing. Lastly, there's the alien theory, a much wilder idea. Some believe that the broadcasts are intended for extraterrestrial communication, linking UFOs or inner Earth civilizations to the frequencies used by the station. Although this theory seems outlandish, some people continue to believe in it. And while there are other theories, like the idea that these broadcasts are related to espionage or secret communication networks, there's still no definitive explanation. It's worth noting that UVB-76 is not the only broadcast of this kind. There are others like Squeaky Wheel or the Buzzer, similar to UVB-76, whose strange and unexplainable transmissions continue to baffle listeners. Ultimately, we can only speculate about the true nature of these stations and what they represent. I'd be curious to know which of these theories you find the most plausible. Do you think it's espionage, military communication, or something else entirely? If you'd like to listen to the broadcasts, I can share the frequencies with you as well.